Okay, well, good evening and welcome to our latest Hacking Health Waterloo Cafe. Thank you for joining again. My name is John Gregory. I'm one of the co-leaders of the Hacking Health Waterloo Cafe together with Catharine Macdonald, who you can also see. We invite you to tweet away at Hacking Health or HH Waterloo or hashtag KWAwesome. So for those that don't know, Hacking Health Foundation is an international grassroots volunteer network, a startup itself, started in 2012 in Montreal, and has grown with chapters around the world and experience running more than 160 hackathons. Locally in the Waterloo region, we aim to act as a connector on what is new in health and tech. So for tonight, who is fatigued by the pandemic? I am for sure. So it's a delight to invite back psychotherapist Bonnie Taylor as tonight's guest speaker. Bonnie is a psychotherapist and owner of Bonnie Taylor Consulting in Waterloo. Bonnie has worked in the field of mental health for over 20 years. And Bonnie provides therapy to children, youth, and adults experiencing a range of mental health, physical, and developmental needs. Bonnie lives on a farm, hence the alpaca, I guess, outside of Waterloo, enjoys spending time outside with her animals. So as usual, I encourage you to submit questions through the chat pane in Zoom and we will monitor that chat. So before we go further, I'm just going to hand off to June for a little more introduction.
Sure. All right. Actually, were you going to introduce Bonnie or you want me to? Sorry. Did you want me to introduce Bonnie?
Well, no, I mean, I've kind of given a little bit of a bio of Bonnie already. And
yes, that's true.
Bonnie can introduce herself as well, but
yes.
There's not much more to say.
if we've missed anything. Well, maybe the name
okay,
of it. Is it an alpaca?
Alpaca? This is Sam.
Okay.
If anybody can see the little picture, that's my baby Sam.
Okay. Sorry, June, I interrupted you.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so for this evening, I know I have really felt this latest lockdown. I have been more motivated the last couple of weeks, but certainly a couple of weeks prior, I found it really hard to do anything. So, and everyone I talked to was feeling the same. So I thought it would be a good idea to revisit this topic, give ourselves after over a year some tools and suggestions for what we can do about it, signs to look for and everything else. So Bonnie's going to help us with that. And then we're going to have a little desk stretch break because that's really important. So it's exercises from your desk because most of us are sitting at our desk all day long. And then if there's interest in doing a mini brainstorm on a wellness app, because I've seen a plethora of them and it's like, is this any good? I don't know. Or anyone wants to provide recommendations, so we'll do that. And then we'll finish off. Bonnie is going to give us a visualization exercise. And I really love these because I personally find them really helpful and can be really, really relaxing. My buddy Jerry came to join us because he's stressed out too sometimes. Okay, so Bonnie, what can you tell us? I know when we were chatting, you said that you and your colleagues have all been finding that not only are your clients feeling stressed out, but you guys are feeling a bit of burnt out yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and that's the interesting part of this past year, because many times people working in the mental health field, I mean, we have our own personal experiences and a variety of experiences, whether it's our own or family members or other colleagues, and as well as clients that we work with, of course. But we rarely have ever all had this unified experience, no matter what age that I'm working with or what type of species, animals, cats, dogs, that are in our world, we're experiencing it too. And as we've heard right from the beginning of the pandemic, this isn't just a crisis in terms of the global crisis with worries about our physical health, worries about our friends and family. This is also a mental health crisis as well. Depending on what field you're in, and automatically we heard about the healthcare workers, which, as we should hear about how much work they're putting in, the long hours, the stress it's taking, and also the isolation that they've had from their own families. Many were sleeping in basements, sleeping in trailers, in hotel rooms, just that removal because of the dedication to their families. Many of the mental health workers, in particular the therapists, because we are able to offer service not in person, to those through the phone, through video. We're so fortunate to be able to continue on. And even for myself, last year, I think it was March 16th, I finished up my sessions and I booted it home. And I started with phone appointments that afternoon, and then had to learn technology, which is not something that I was familiar with or comfortable with. But as we're talking about some of the limitations, many therapists I know, none of us were. So we could almost give ourselves a break because we're wanting to provide the support to our clients as we're saying, can you hear me? Can you see me? And they're like, no, Bonnie, adjust this, turn up your volume. I'm like, okay, you do this. It kind of brought us together and maybe even changed the parameters too of that relationship, because many times people are saying, well, and how are you doing, Bonnie? And not often in that therapeutic relationship, except obviously the greetings like, hi, how are you today? When people come in the office, but really asking, how are you doing? And how are you getting through this? So, of course, everybody that knows me knows they're going to get probably a 5-minute spiel about my alpacas, my chickens, my puppy. And those are things that are kind of fun and also I just kind of break the monotony a bit too. But absolutely, it hasn't been an easy time because many of the therapists in particular and mental health providers, we're doing our best, but we still can't reach everybody's needs. And that has been hard, especially when people are feeling that Zoom fatigue at the end of the day, thinking, okay, I do need some support. I do need counseling. Oh, I have to go online again. So that can also create a few barriers too.
And so what are the signs that like what kind, I'm going to call them symptoms, but what are the symptoms that seem to show up, in ourselves, or maybe we start with ourselves? What are some of the things that we should pay attention to?
Well, as you had mentioned, June, even that lack of motivation, because so many people, and I'm not saying that I haven't experienced it myself, but kind of waking up and thinking, oh, okay, here we are. It's how many months into it now? Oh, now it's January. Oh, what? It's May. I think as soon as you start to recognize that you're saying some of the same things to yourself, even like, oh, here's another day. What am I going to do today? Okay, change from, nighttime pajamas to daytime pajamas. Or, okay, now I'm going to, I should change my t-shirt because if I'm online, they're going to see that I was wearing the same one yesterday. So when we start to hear some of those feelings of like, ugh, hear yourself do that, because we hear it in ourselves, but we also hear it in if we live with somebody too, or our coworkers, if we're online with them, or for those people that are able to go in and work with people in person. Fatigue is another one. I mentioned the word Zoom fatigue, which I think is probably going to be coined in the dictionary soon, because I think a lot of people are saying that. But it's that fatigue where you just don't feel like you have the energy for anything else. But if you look at it, we actually haven't really spent that much physical energy, we'll say, in a day. I know when I was working out of, not in my home, but outside of my home, even going for walks at lunch. And I know Retnika is on there, and she's my former colleague, and we used to have wonderful times to connect at lunchtime, go for walks around campus at Waterloo, and just being able to move. And you would be also tired at the end of the day because you're emotionally tired, your brain's tired, and then also being able to recognize you're physically tired. Now, most of us are not physically tired. I've heard a lot of people talk about sleep issues, just going to bed maybe too late, because even though we're not doing a lot, I challenge people to look at how much time are they spending on their phones. Look at your social media. It's not uncommon for me to hear responses of 6 hours, 7 hours, 10 hours of just scrolling. So even if you're doing your work, or I'm working with a lot of students who are working online, doing their courses that way, it's easy to pick up your phone, kind of scroll, because it's our way of connecting. When you notice that you're no longer even wanting to connect in that way with people. So it's that feeling of like, ugh, I have nothing even to say to them anymore either. I have nothing new to talk about. Why even bother? I'm just going to scroll. I'm just going to watch a movie on Netflix. I think that when we notice that we're somewhat disconnecting from others in that way, those are also warning signs. Headache too. Feeling kind of that nauseous, like I know I should eat, but I don't feel hungry, or the opposite, where what should I do? Maybe I'll go have another sandwich. Oh, there's chips in the cupboard. And so sometimes people are either under eating or overeating. So pay attention to that as well. Notice when your neck is sore, your back is sore. Now that's a little different than because we're sitting at a computer all day. But still, when we're so tensed up, everything's not flowing smoothly for us. And when our bodies do start to tense up, it's sending some signals that, are we needing to tense up for a reason? So those are some of the physical symptoms. Some of the emotional symptoms, as I said, sort of that loss of motivation is it fits in many categories. But even if you just find you're a bit more irritable, I'm hearing that from a lot of people. And I'm getting a lot of requests actually more recently for some couples counseling, where people are noticing, we've been in this for how long now? I've lost count. I stopped counting out of here. And looking at, okay, you know what, honey, like I just don't have any patience left for you. And it's not that you don't want to be there. It's not that you don't want to be support or anything like that. It's just, we don't maybe want to hear the same story. We just don't want to do the same thing. We're getting irritated with them. We're feeling anxious ourselves. We're feeling restless, like, I want to do something. I don't know what I want to do. We find like maybe for a few minutes, I'm feeling like, okay, not too bad. I'm going to email a friend or text a friend or whatever, however you want to communicate. And then you might think, I don't have anything to say when you hear back from them. So it's that instability in your mood too, if it's up and down. Notice too, when you're not able to get up in the morning. It's not just like, I don't feel like getting out of bed. It's legitimately not. You're putting your work computer in bed with you. You're sitting on your phone in bed. You're not bothering to shower. And I think a lot of people are actually reducing how much they shower. I think a lot of people used to shower every day before they went to work. Now it's like every second day or third day. It's like, did I shower today? Maybe. Yes. Okay. I think so. So personal hygiene, when you notice that it is starting to slip a little bit, as I mentioned too, with the over under eating, look at what else are you doing a little bit more of, more drinking, more use of drugs, maybe more use of social media, and just nail biting or kind of picking at your fingers, or just things that you're just not typically doing. So those are, I feel like I just gave somewhat of a long list, but it's also a very small a small list of signs that we need to look out for in ourselves, but mainly looking at what is it that I'm feeling that's different than how I normally feel? How long has it been going on? If we've had a really low mood for more than a couple weeks, we just can't shake it. If our anxiety is really up, that it just seems like everything is overwhelming, everything's making us nervous and frightened. If that's going on too long, it's starting to impair your thoughts. Focusing on work is hard. Focusing on school is hard. Even just having conversations with people and kind of finishing them, like if your mind is all over the place and you're not typically like that, those are all warning signs. So it's a long-winded answer maybe to your question, June, but hopefully just being able to recognize the physical, the emotional, and some of those behavioral signs in yourself.
Yeah, and there are so many and different things that come up too, right? And definitely a certain level of anxiety and stress, right? Just because knowing we're in a pandemic. I know for me, going to the supermarket, the grocery store, I still, even over a year later, I still find that, a little bit depressing.
Uh,
It's having to avoid people and following the different routes and wearing them, making sure I got my mask and I'm not getting exposed to other people. And thankfully I have cats. I think, and other
And
people,
emotional
if you
support
don't,
animals.
that's
yeah.
right. That's right. Yeah, I think if you don't have, if you don't have animals yourself, just go around the park. I was talking to someone with a dog the other day, and it was fantastic just having this interaction.
Yeah. That's been
Yeah.
one of the nicest parts over this past year, because I've been able to see everybody's animals. And, animals aren't just, objects in our home. They really are family members. And look at the increase that I waited quite some time to get my own pup. We had a dog before that we had lost before the pandemic. And, what a gap you notice when you don't have that. And it's an unconditional love, because they don't know it's a pandemic, but what they know is like they're cheering it on and hope it never ends, because
You're home.
yes.
Yeah.
I saw a funny comic about the difference between the dog and a cat's view of the pandemic. And the cat is like, oh, will they ever leave? And the dog's like, oh, this is great. This is great. Oh, you're still here. Yeah, this is great.
My cats follow me from room to room. Oh, I don't believe what they tell you about cats. But yeah, do you want to, aside from pets, what else can we do to look after ourselves and lift ourselves up out of those doldrums and that languishing and despondency is what one article called it.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Well, we hear the term self-care all the time. And it's not just about, bubble baths and eating chocolate covered strawberries and putting the bathrobe on and having a nice face mask. I'm not saying those things aren't helpful, but that's not what self-care is all about. And when we look at self-care, it's literally, if we take those two words and, we're looking at ourselves and we're looking at how can we care for ourselves. Because what I might find to be relaxing, the next person might think, oh, like I wouldn't want to do that, and vice versa. So knowing what you actually like to do. This has been one of the biggest challenges that many people have been working with over the past year, because especially the summer's coming again. People that like to get out and play soccer, play baseball, go biking. Well, I can bike now, but in some of those more social activities, still can't do. Golf has opened up for us, so that's good for the golfers. But it's really also looking at what makes you on the inside feel happy. Whether it is even just kicking back and grabbing a book that you enjoy, that's good too. Having that balance of what can I do? There we go, doing some reading every morning. Self-care also is about being kind to yourself. I have heard so many people say like, oh, well, I only did this, or, oh, I only did that, or I'm not doing this. But I really like to look at, well, what are you doing for yourself? And when we were talking previously about mental health professionals and how we're caring for ourselves too, a lot of times we can space out appointments a little bit more. Not everybody can, but some people can, just to have a little bit of that break.
Mm-hmm.
I also recommend realizing the impact of music. Music, if we put ourselves all in an MRI machine listening to our favorite music, I think you'd see how everything is firing, because it does speak to our senses. Get your playlist out. Even if you just have to take a little bit of a break, maybe turn your camera off if you work online a lot, or not, depending on how fun your coworkers are, your family, if you're having a family meeting. But being able to just move your body. Getting outside is something that is so important. I think I stress that so much to everybody. And even in the middle of winter when people, I couldn't convince them. But if you do have a dog, for example, it is a good excuse to kind of get them out. Okay, if you don't do it for yourself, do it for someone else. So again, look at the physical way you can care for your body, moving at least 15 minutes a day somehow. I hope more than that. But even if you are able to get out, get some of that fresh air, that vitamin D. Many people are nervous, especially if you live in more of an urban area, to come across too many people. Well, is it possible to, find some new trails? Self-care, a lot of people were doing this at the beginning of the pandemic where like, oh, I cleaned out 5 closets, I baked 10 loaves of bread, I did all this stuff. Lots of people didn't. And that's okay. So it goes back to being okay with how you're handling it. But don't forget to also take a moment with the self-care and even a 3-minute check-in, whether it's in the morning and say, okay, what is my mood? As I was describing earlier, if you wake up and you're like, here we go again, then let's look at, okay, how can I make today different than yesterday? The self-care, because when our brains are really sedentary and we're not seeing a lot more than our 4 walls or maybe a few rooms in our place of 4 walls, we don't notice things as much. I challenge you, walk through your house. Do you even look at pictures you have on the wall anymore? Do you even look at the books that you have like on the bookshelf? Like, no, because our brain has seen it again and again and again. We don't look. And look at how many times car accidents even happen really close to home. And because our brain stops taking it in as new information. Now, so if we look at how even challenge yourself, if we kind of get up in the morning and say, okay, here is what I'm going to do. Here are some of my intentions of the day. Please be realistic and not say, I'm going to do 15 different things today. If one of those things is even, I'm going to get up and just take a shower right away. I'm going to make myself breakfast because I haven't been eating properly. I'm going to go for a little walk on my lunch break. I'm going to, go out and maybe even I actually did a presentation for another group, and I did a follow-up presentation, and my recommendation was move some pictures around on your walls, do some redecorating with what you already have. And so being able to, renovate your house, for example, that kind of, it really does perk you up a little bit. And somebody said, you know what, it did work. I walked by, I'm like, oh, look at that. Change some pictures in your picture frames. Maybe have some in albums if anybody's printing them off. Move your body, move your mind, challenge yourselves a little bit to intentionally do something different, and maybe even challenge yourself to reach out to somebody every single day. It doesn't have to be the same person, but think of somebody that you haven't talked to for a while. I had a wonderful conversation with my good friend Sean the other night, and just it really kind of sings to your soul too, because you get to hear their voice, you get to laugh, and those are things you can't necessarily do in a text. LOL, you get the point, but just hearing somebody, kind of share some of those stories together, those are helpful. One other thing I really want to highlight as well is gratitude. The importance of even if you do it 3 times a week, sit down and think, okay, what am I grateful for today? Very, it's sort of the same thing as you go through. Okay, I'm grateful I have a home. I'm grateful I have food to eat. I'm grateful I have family. Those are really, really valuable things. But don't forget the fact that I'm grateful that there's no snow on the ground. I'm grateful that, I have tons of birds around here. I can go out and start counting in my head all the different sounds that I'm hearing. I'm grateful that I can even just have the ability to work with individuals who are trusting me with their journey of what they're experiencing. So those are just some self-care strategies, but all of those before we wrap up, I want to do a little exercise, as I was saying, in something called grounding I'm going to do. And garbage pickup is always good.
So anything I don't have to deal with is wonderful.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny. Somebody said, you know what? We go from one garbage night to the next. And all I know is the different week is, oh, is it garbage this week? No, that was last week. Like, okay, we have to shake things up a bit.
Does anyone have any questions right now? I was going to ask you, because I know we talked about how I have two questions actually. So one is that you said you have clients who are concerned for the people in their life that they love. And because so, you know, whether it's ourselves or other people, sometimes we don't notice some of those signs. So how do you broach that conversation?
Yeah, and that has been a big concern for many people. Some individuals are reaching out for counseling just for themselves because they're feeling so overwhelmed if they are caring for a loved one, for example. Many family members, even if you have, say, an elderly parent, well, one person might be designated as that caregiver within that family for that person. And so often, that one person that's going, making sure their mom has bread, groceries, the visits, it's wonderful for that person to do that. But then the other family members often do worry about them too. And they're like, oh, how do we support you when we can't and we're far away, and the distance. Plus the ones that we live with, if we're noticing, if we have, whether it's roommates, it's family members, kids, people that they're not really seeming themselves. I think most of our moods have dampened somewhat. I think we can really realistically say that about ourselves over the last year. I think our expectations of what we can, sorry, I don't know if it's too windy in my microphone. It got really windy here. Okay. And just being able to recognize some of those symptoms I mentioned before about indicators of stress. Take a look at the people around you and think, you know what? Like, she hasn't really, not as a judgment, but she hasn't really changed her clothes much all week, or she hasn't been touching base with anybody, or I used to see her go jogging and she doesn't really do that anymore. And I guess she hasn't really been eating too much either. But then you don't want to pass judgment or look like you're saying, like, listen, you need to take a shower. But what you are trying to say is, I'm worried about you. Asking questions just to say, how are you doing? And if someone's like, oh, no, how are you doing? How have you been managing? A lot of times we don't want to burden other people with how we're dealing with our own stuff right now, because we all know many of us are already feeling full. So if I'm feeling exhausted and overwhelmed and lonely, then I might think, well, I don't necessarily want to call one of my friends because I think they're feeling the same way. And maybe they're thinking the same thing. Oh, I don't want to bother, say, Bonnie, or I don't want to bother somebody else because they're probably full too. As a result, many of us are isolating. So if we're worried about our partners, our friends, even coworkers, just even, if you can take them aside, however you can do that at this point, and just say, like, honestly, I'm kind of worried about you. Are you doing okay? And is there anything that I can do to help? Would you like to, even do an online social night? Some people are trying to do, like, at the beginning, people were doing it. It was kind of fun. Now it's like, no thanks. But maybe it's time to bring back some of the stuff we started with at the beginning that was helpful that we've kind of forgotten about. But don't be afraid to just let them know that you're worried. And it is okay to say, like, I'm struggling too, but how I'm struggling might not be the same as how you're struggling. So I want to hear how you're doing. It invites that opportunity for that person to say, okay, you know what? She's put it out there. I want to say, like, this sucks. I'm lonely. I miss my family. I miss just even going to work. I miss whatever, bowling. I don't know if anyone misses bowling, but maybe there is someone. Things like that. Also, if you are concerned, if you're hearing things like, oh, I just don't feel like going on anymore. What's the point? I don't even know like why I'm here. Like if you start to hear words that and phrases that cause concern for their own personal safety, stop and ask them, what do you mean? What do you mean when, what's the point? Not just saying, yeah, I know, like we can keep going on with this, but really stop and say, what do you mean? Are you having thoughts of harming yourself? Are you having thoughts of suicide? Don't be afraid to ask those questions, because it doesn't mean you're going to put the thought into their head. If anything, you might just be also opening the door to somebody to say to you, yeah, I'm having a hard time. You might not know what to do with it from there. And it's okay. You don't have to know what to do with it, but knowing the resources, saying, you know what, why don't we call the doctor together? Even if you just, put me on video and you make the phone call, I'm happy to be there with you. Being also able to say, like, let's look at the crisis line. Locally in Waterloo Region, it's the Here 24/7 line. Let's find that number and let's give them a call. So any of those types of supports, if you really don't know what to do, you can also reach out to the Here 24/7 line yourself and say, you know what, I have this friend, this is kind of what they're saying. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. If it's a coworker, you can always maybe have a private conversation with somebody else that might give you some direction too. Many people are.
So Bonnie, in the last 12 months, have we seen people prompted to reach out more often? Or have people kind of retracted? And maybe another concern is that people aren't reaching out as much as maybe they could or should do.
Yeah, it's a good question. At first, I found people were not, because for the first bit, none of us realized that the pandemic was going to last as long as it has. And thank you, June, for putting the Here 24/7 website there. And it does have some good information and resources on it. At first, a lot of people were saying, we'll just wait till you're back in the office. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. That might be May. They're like, May, really?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that was May 2020. And then it was, well, Bonnie, when are you going to be back in the office? I'm like, June. Then it was September. Then it was maybe November. Anyways, I gave up my office in November. I'm tired of paying for something that I go and dust once a month, visit, sit on the couch, and then come home. So now I've squeezed the couch into my house and I have extra seating, and yet nobody can visit me. But in terms of reaching out, it's hard to measure, but I know for myself, I'm busier now with individuals as clients than I was when I was in the office, but I was busy there too. But one of the most interesting things, and it has been pretty cool for many people, is if you especially live in an area that is underserviced by mental health supports, that there's huge waiting lists to get on to get counseling. Well, look up a different community. I have clients from Thunder Bay to Windsor to other side of Ottawa. Like it's been so neat because, well, first of all, we're all kind of still dealing with the same thing, and it kind of validates that it's not any better anywhere that we could go. But it's nice too, because a number of clients that I've worked with said that it has been helpful to talk to somebody that they know they're not going to run into. I talk to mental health professionals, relatives, because like, yeah, let's say, for example, like my mom's in the field, she knows everyone, and I don't really want to talk to them. People don't have to drive, like, especially if you're in rural areas and more northern Ontario, which I have a number of clients in that area now. It could be an hour drive to get to somebody, and the waiting list is so long because there's hardly any services. So people are reaching out. Many clients that I've had probably over the last 6 months have never accessed counseling before. And I'm not talking about kids, I'm talking about adults and couples as well. So I don't know how to answer the question scientifically, but from what I'm seeing is people are reaching out because it has a different level of comfort too when you can do it online. You can sit on your couch, your cat's there, your blanket's there. You can just, many people are sitting in their cars with the windows down now, it's hot, looking at the lake and having a private conversation.
Fantastic. Does anyone are there any questions from anyone who has joined us this evening? Or do you have any comments? You want to join in the conversation? Just unmute yourself. No, everyone's feeling shy. Okay, well, you might come up with some questions. Bonnie's staying on. Catharine Macdonald has joined us. She is also a therapist, and she also does Pilates and TRX training. So she's combining those skills today to help us get moving, elevate our mood, and I have to unpin you, Bonnie. So things that we can do from our desk. And then Bonnie, you're gonna come back to us. Yeah.
Bonnie has an alpaca.
She has an alpaca. Yeah.
Cool.
That's so cute. That's so cute. Well, we're not going to do any TRX. This is just I just put together a few moves, like 5-minute, I would call it like a movement snack. And this is really helpful if you are working at your desk all day to move at various points. And you can think of it as, rather than going to get a snack or get a snack, and have a little movement snack and move a bit too. So I was going to say to people who are on that one of the really helpful things to do right now is to turn off your self view. That's also something I find helpful, but it looks like most people don't have their camera on. So it's because sometimes we get a little shy about watching ourselves move. So I don't want you to be shy. So yeah. So just 5 minutes. We're going to do some really easy stuff to hopefully wake you up a little bit, make you feel better, get you breathing. I'm just going to start by sitting in your chair. You could imagine a string pulling your head up, your tailbone is down. You don't have to be too high, just let your shoulders drop, and then let your head go from one side, let the weight to the other side. Just from the right to the left, and then we'll add a circle, so you just let your head drop to the front, so your spine is tall, but your head is dropping, and then you go back the other way. And you're still breathing. And just let it move. And you can go slowly or you can go a little faster, whatever you're feeling like. And then finish up on that side, sit up tall. So hold on to your chair with one hand, reach your other arm up and go over. Just think of being really nice and long and come back up. And let's go to the other side because you can add like a little bit of energy to it. And then the other way. And up and breathe. Inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose if you can. But always inhale through your nose, even if you exhale through your mouth. And you're just reaching over. You can even have a little wave, one more. And come up. All right, this next one you can do in your chair. It's really great against a wall. So you take your elbows out to the side. I'm going to move to the side so you can kind of see. Actually, you won't be able to see too much. Just roll your shoulders back so you're nice and wide across here, and then press your elbows back. You kind of squeeze your shoulder blades together. You can think of your sternum lifting, and then just let it release. And you press back and let it release. So we're doing a few things to help our upper spine. So the thoracic spine, that's like from your shoulder blades up, because that's where we really start to hunch over. And we'll do one more. And release. And that is great against a wall. And let's do one more for the thoracic spine. So take your hands either behind your head or on top of your head. You can just let your arms hang down. And then I'm going to twist over to the right, and I'm going to look at my right elbow. So up and back and then forward. And just stay on the right, looking up and back and forward. And up and back and forward. And one more. Up and back and forward. And then we're going to switch sides. I said one more, then I did an extra one. How many you do doesn't really matter. You could do 5, you can do 10. You're just reaching back. You can look with your eyes. It's amazing. It gives you a little bit more movement. And we'll do one more. All right, so you can shake your arms out. Probably have not the best position of your keyboard and your desk. I don't. I'm starting to get a little pain in my elbow. So we're going to do a little stretch for that. You're going to reach your arms out in front of you. Spread your fingers. Pull your fingertips back and really press into the heel of your hand and release. And press. And I feel it. These muscles are all activating. And release. And press. Let your shoulders drop down. Release. We'll do one more. And then you're going to make a fist and reach down. You'll feel a stretch through the extensors at the top, the muscles you're just working, and open. And down and open. And down and open. And one more. And open. Good. And then you can take your hands together and just do a nice little loose. You can move your elbows too if you like, and your shoulders, or you can just move your wrists. Let your wrists loosen up. You can change direction. Sometimes that feels sort of weird. If you don't think about it, it's easier. All right, and then just let it go. And then we're just going to quickly go through that one more time to help you remember it, because it's hard to remember these things. It's hard to remember movement anyway. So you just start with your neck. You go from side to side, roll it down, slowly or quickly, sitting up tall. And then side stretch, reach up and over. And if you want to, you can even switch sides, up and over, and up and over. One more, and over. And then we take our elbows, they're a little lower than our shoulders, and then we press them back. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, release. Squeeze together, release. Squeeze together, release. Good. And then their hands are going to drop on your head. And let's start on the left side. We're going to reach up, look to the left elbow and down. And reach up and down. And one more, reach up. And then on the right, reach with the right. And up. And you're twisting through your spine. One more. And then the hands, arms reach out in front. Spread those fingers, press away, and curl down. And spread the fingers, fist down. Spread and down. Spread and down. Two. Let's do one more. And then roll out the wrists. Oh, I see June's cat there. A couple animals, you could change direction. You can also do this just with your hands like this. It's just to get your wrists sort of loose. And then we're going to stop. We're going to finish with one stretch for your hip flexors, because when we sit all the time, our hip flexors, they tend to get tight. So this one, you actually have to be on your chair. I might have to move my camera a little bit so you can see. So I'm going to stand kind of in front of my chair. I have my knee on. Oh, I'll take my shoes off. My slippers. So you can see I don't wear proper pants because I don't have to. You can just drop your foot on the chair, and it's like you're going into a little lunge. I tilt my pelvis, and I just go forward. I feel stretch through here, and then I release. And I stretch through here, release. You can also do this on the floor, but it's great to do on a sofa or a chair. And this is a really good stretch movement to do a few times a day. But even if you do it once a day, it's excellent. And one more. And then we're going to go to the other side because we got to do both. Go back over my chair. Right, so I'm tilting my pelvis. I'm going into a lunge. I feel a stretch through here and let it go. And forward. And just make sure both of your legs are straight so you don't have a turnout. So your knee's not going out like this. It's both of your feet would be pointing in the same direction. And forward. And we'll do one more. You can hold it for a little longer if you like. But going in and out of movement is really, really helpful. So hopefully you enjoyed that and you're feeling a little bit more awake.
That's great. Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah,
You
thank
are
you so
welcome.
much. Anybody have
I've
any
intentionally
questions?
moved my printer to the furthest part of my house. So
Good idea.
Great idea.
yeah, I act as a medical copywriter, so I tend to print quite a bit. So yeah, my printer is as far away as it can possibly get. So I get up like every either few minutes or several times an hour to go retrieve stuff. I could put it right next to me, but then of course I would get no exercise. So I can still get 5,000 steps kind of walking between kind of my desk and my printer.
That is a great idea. And then when you walk through doorways, you could like reach your arms up or out to the side, get a good stretch. Just to move your body a little bit more. Yeah, we just don't move as much as we did when we would have to go into the office. So,
well, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for the tips, Bonnie. Just reading your message in chat.
Yeah, no, that's great. What time is it? So we're
at a very friendly cat.
We have he's like, yeah, I want to come and hang out. All right. So I was originally thinking that maybe we would talk about wellness apps. Does anybody want to share any apps that they have found useful or would like to avoid? And maybe in future we'll be able to do like more of a brainstorm session and come up with our own, or get someone in who can help us evaluate them. Okay, Kat. Any thoughts on the topic? All right. Okay, so I think we want to finish with.
I have something to share. I don't know, Bonnie has something too. I actually found an app for if you want to try meditation, like either something to help you practice meditation or to learn different aspects. It's called Balance, and it's free for the next year. And I find they're actually pretty good. You can set them, they have different lengths and different programs, and you can do sort of an ongoing one or one like just to wake up in the morning or to go to sleep or to calm down or whatever you're looking for. So
great, because some of the ones that I've tried that I've downloaded and then I open them and it's like they just want to hit you with taking your money. So that's awesome. Free. And Bonnie has shared a bunch, so that's great. Thank you.
One of the biggest challenges, and I think when June and I were chatting previously, and as a therapist too, I know how beneficial some of these mental health apps are to individuals, and encourage people to, try tracking your mood. Some of those ones I listed on there, you can track your mood. How are you feeling physically? What are your thoughts? What's your body doing and reacting? And then they can kind of tailor what a meditation would be for those. But the other part is I also don't have time to sit down and preview every app and see, is it good? Is it not? And also the other part is some are free for a bit, some are not, and so you can't try unless you're putting your credit card in. And it'd be so interesting to know too, like who is out there using apps, how are they helpful? And one of the nice things, especially on Spotify, is that they have some meditation ones on there now too. On Netflix, I haven't watched it yet, but I know Headspace has I don't know, little segments on there for sleep as well. So it's something to check out. So, even kind of using some of the things that you already have, which I didn't even realize that Spotify had it. I just go on my own playlist, but my clients, they're the ones I'm like, what are you using? What's helpful? I'm making notes, because if you've used and you like it, great. And if you don't like it, then at least you can kind of check it out and share as you go.
Oh, that's really good tips. Yeah, I mean, I think that the last year has been, I mean, just from a personal point of view, I mean, I think the last year has been very tough on, I think, everyone, and myself included. And I feel so fortuitous. All of us are safe and well. We're all employed. We're busy, and in that sense, you kind of feel guilty in a way, in the fact that you have nothing to complain about, because we have survived the last 15 months unscathed, and in some ways kind of probably benefited kind of from it. But nevertheless, yeah, I mean, I think that the lack of, I think for me, not having something either to look forward to, or when I don't know, I speak to my mum, she says, "What exciting news do you have?" Or kind of, well, none. Do you know what I mean? There's that lack of either the opportunity to talk about, oh, I've just been, or just met, or just done something kind of fun and exciting to share with other people, or even kind of looking forward to. I don't miss the air travel kind of bit, but I miss the looking forward to where you were going to go if you were traveling, whether it be on Ontario or anywhere else. So I don't know. I've ordinarily been a supremely motivated person. I'm finding it hard. I definitely feel much less motivated, or there are so many things I could do, and at the moment I'm just kind of, yeah. Should I? Well, yeah, I could, but yeah, I'll let it go, and that's just really unlike me. So I'm noticing it myself as well.
Yeah. Well, as you said too, John, just that anticipation, because I think a lot of people, I noticed this last year for myself too, because we were supposed to take a nice trip last summer and regrettably had to cancel it. And always every year, maybe around March or April, I start to plan, oh, what are we going to do this summer? And
yeah, exactly.
My husband is very accommodating. He's like, well, whatever, like, I'll go wherever you want. I do the planning, and he doesn't object. So that works out okay. But it is kind of fun to do that, because then you can talk to people about it, or even when you get back and people, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, we went here, we went there. This is what we're up to. There's kind of that lack of water cooler chat.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to dig. Sometimes on Facebook, I'll see a random picture of somebody in Europe, and I'm looking at it again. And of course, there are always posts, from 2 years ago, from 3 years ago, like memories. There's more memory posts now on there than there is actual what people are doing.
Yeah, very true.
It is an opportunity to go exploring in your own backyard, right? To find whether that's local trails or just neighborhoods you've never been to. Go down alleys and streets, the safe ones, where you'll see things that you have never discovered before. And I know there's a KW walk that's online, at least one. I'm sure there's some other ones. Yeah, it might be good to try. All right, so I want to make sure that we have time. We might go over time, but Bonnie's going to do a guided exercise for us, a guided visualization. And I just want to say thank you to you, Bonnie, and to Catherine, and to everybody who showed up today. If you have any questions at the end, I'm sure Bonnie will stick around, but otherwise, why don't we get into relaxation mode? And I want a good night's sleep where I don't where I just get myself to go to sleep like right away.
Well, one of the best keys to going to sleep, well, maybe a little bit better, would be shutting off technology at least an hour, not taking your computer, your phone, anything like that into your room. Many of us don't need it in our rooms, but it's habit. I hear a lot of excuses from people saying, but it's my alarm clock. Well, you know what? I have an old school alarm clock. We set the time on it, unless you absolutely have to, depending on your living situation. I do recommend kind of getting the technology out of the bedroom so it's not the last thing that you're looking at before bed, and it's not the first thing you're looking at in the morning. So there's my tip for you, June. I think a lot of people are guilty of that too. When we are talking about self-care, one thing that's also really important is something called mindfulness. Many people get mindfulness mixed up with meditation, and you can see why too, because they do have very similar characteristics. With mindfulness, it really is kind of taking that step back, kind of looking at what is going on in my body right now. I have I don't have it. There's an acronym. I did not coin the term. And just think of holding up a stop sign. I really need one because I'm always just randomly holding up this imaginary stop sign. But nonetheless, think of the letters stop. So if you're finding that, you're breathing from here, actually pay attention. Okay, when was the last time I actually breathed from my belly? And when you pay attention to that, babies, kids, they don't pay attention because they just breathe naturally. You don't often see kids breathe from here. There aren't, well, maybe online learning they are now, but they're not usually like this. As adults, we are. So being able to physically stop, kind of that 3-minute check-in, as I sort of briefly mentioned before. So that would be the S, physically stop what you're doing. T would be take a breath from your belly. Hold it for 4 seconds. Slowly let it out. O would be observe. Observe your thoughts. Observe, how am I feeling right now? Maybe I'm just feeling a little off, a bit sad, a bit anxious, a bit worried, a bit angry. Who knows what's going on in your day? What's going on with your body? As you do observe it, are your shoulders up to here? I mean, I'm doing an exaggeration, but really, if you do kind of pay attention, wiggle your shoulders around a little bit. Think of that midpoint in your spine. See if you can actually shake that a bit. We've all just had practice with doing some desk exercises, so it kind of helps a bit. Being able to observe, are my legs jittering? I can't demonstrate that now because, we all just see ourselves from the waist up now. But, when you just sit there and bounce your leg over and over, are you doing that? Are you like tapping? Are you, just really tense? Shake out your hands a bit. Just kind of do a little bit of movement in your body, even if this is just for a few seconds. Wiggle your toes. None of us wear shoes anymore, so it's easy to do that. And then P would be either proceed or plan. You can use P for either one. I like the word plan because then we can take a look at, all right, I'm sitting here, I realize my body's kind of tense. I'm not really breathing as clearly as I should be. I'm feeling just stressed. I'm feeling overwhelmed right now, and I feel like I'm just going to lose it on the next person that asks me, do I have this? Do I have that? I don't know. Depending on what people are doing with their jobs or if they're in school. Make a plan. And a plan could be, I'm going to just walk downstairs or wherever you are. I'm going to get a glass of water. Now, if any of you do have water, beer, whatever you have next to you, there's no judgment. I have a glass you can't see in. I would like you to, the next time, in practice if you have it, take a sip of your water. And as you do, I want you to visualize it as a color, whatever color you really find comforting, which is different for everybody. So say you I love this color of blue. I don't have anything right now that's in it. I'm sure it's in my picture behind me. So as you start to take that, picture that color going all the way down, all the way through you. It's going through your arms, through your fingertips, through your whole body, right down to your toes. You have just intentionally, like the Pepto-Bismol commercials, put the soothing color all throughout your body. As you were paying attention earlier to some of those stressful points, picture a color that you don't like. And it might be a color of green that your husband painted your office that you don't really like. Oh, did I say that? And so picture a color that you don't like. Okay. Now I would like you to breathe in that same color that you do like. Hold it for 3. Don't let it out. Picture the color you don't like and blow it out as hard and fast as you can. Get it out. And now I'd like you to breathe in again, slowly to the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. That color should be the color you like, and slowly breathe it out. So that is just a color visualization that we can do as a way of calming. And that only took us a couple of minutes. So there's that. There's also being able to do some grounding, which is really just paying attention to your 5 senses. 5 things you hear, 4 things you see, 3 things you taste, 2 things you smell, 1 thing you touch, and you can shake those up. It doesn't have to be in that order of the senses. But again, it brings you back to the here and now. It's something you can do in a team meeting. It's something you can do when somebody is droning on and on and on about something in a team meeting. They don't need to know what you're doing. But it's that self-care. It's learning to stop. And it's as simple as that.
Well, I feel much more relaxed.
Good.
Are there any questions or comments from anyone?
Hey, am I audible?
Hey, hello. Yes.
Hi guys, thanks for arranging the session. This is my first time ever I'm come up, and I'm glad I can see faces different than my work colleagues. So my question for Bonnie was, like, I have my own routine. I follow my pre-pandemic routines of lifestyle, but it's just that with living alone, there have been chances where I don't get motivated enough to work. Like, I'll follow the routine, but it's just the work part, because I feel like, I'm not seeing my colleagues. I'm not moving anywhere. I dress up. I even dress up for my work. Like, I'll change my clothes and whatnot. So, but it's just that the work part. I don't know if others have been feeling that, but I don't know. I've been struggling with getting some change with that, but yeah.
No, that's a good question. And one thing that some people have found helpful is, you're already doing it, Retnika, with putting on something that's not just, a t-shirt and shorts or whatnot. It's, even if it's just a nicer shirt, nobody can see what's below. But getting ready as you would in your routine, go outside as if you're going to work. Allow yourself, if you would walk, or if you would normally take the bus, or if you were commuting, you would probably need about 30 minutes, 45, an hour, depending on where you are. Give yourself that time if you can get back in that routine and pretend you're walking. You don't have to walk to work, but intentionally then go outside. Even if you walk around your house, neighbors won't judge. Nobody around here would even see me if I did that. But then come back in as if, all right, I'm here, I'm starting my day. If you're able to even make sure that you're not doing your work, like sitting on your bed, make sure you have like a proper setup in that way. But, change up a little bit of your work environment if you can. If there's little things that you have that make you smile, put them on your desk, put some pictures, kind of shake that up a little bit. You might just need to take more frequent breaks. If you have a job that you could literally just do at any time, and it's not as structured, if maybe there's not as many meetings, maybe just change things a little bit. So stay on routine, but be creative with it. So if you normally take your lunch break from 12 to 1, but it doesn't really matter depending on your job, maybe take it 11:30 to 12:30, or some of those things. But having a little bit of a motivation buddy or a work buddy that you can almost say, okay, can you just touch base with me in like 30 minutes? And maybe we'll do some of these desk stretches that we just learned from Catherine. Let's just do those together. Anything like that. Or what if we, put our earbuds in and go for a walk? You're at your house, I'm at my house, but we can walk and talk the way we used to. Some of those things, I don't know if that will be helpful. It is hard to stay motivated, but also don't forget to take your vacation time. That's one thing that many people are not taking breaks. And a friend of mine had said that the other day too, who hasn't also taken much of a break over the last year. And if we don't take our breaks, vacation doesn't mean we have to fly somewhere and see John's family. It just means that we have to, take the day and not do work too. So having a bit of a combination, do some long weekends, anything like that.
Thanks, Bonnie. Yeah,
Great
that's
advice.
helpful.
Hey.
I actually have a comment too, if I could add something, because I experienced the same thing. Like, one of the things that's been hardest for me in the pandemic is I'm very social, and I really miss seeing people all the time. And in fact, I used to teach Pilates most mornings of the week, and I only do a couple mornings now online. So I sort of figured out like what motivated me and gave me energy to keep going. So, and I find the two things that do it is, one is sort of some social time first thing in the day. So, and then the other thing is working out. So sometimes I combine it and I work out with a friend, or I'll do like virtual coffee with people. And I actually put I put some effort into making sure that I get social time first thing in the morning and it just, I don't know, I stay in touch with a lot of people and it's been great. So but it's still, I think it's still very up and down. Like our world has changed and there's a lot of uncertainty. So I'm with you. It is hard.
Yeah, no, I just think it's great advice. So Bonnie and Catherine, thank you very much. June, thank you for organising tonight. I just find it's so much easier. Sorry, not so much easier. It's easy to just be working all the time. I mean, I don't know if anyone said right at the beginning when we first started, my Mac said that my screen time, this is only on my Mac, this is excluding my phone, was down 15% to 13.5 hours average per day last week. Well, that's nuts. That's crazy. And that's on top of the phone as well, or watching the TV or anything. So yeah, I think for some of us, it's we just get drawn more and more into working. It's kind of very sad. But anyway, June, over to you to close up. But no, thank you all and for everyone contributing tonight. It's been a fascinating discussion.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks again to everybody for coming. Thank you so much, Catherine, and big thanks to Bonnie for providing us lots of insight and ideas on how we can look after ourselves and the people we love better. The one thing I do want to add is that Zoom fatigue is real.
There we should go.
And it is about, even though it's not running, it's a lot of exhaustion listening intently and trying to watch people. So the tip about turning off your own self-view is a really good one, because that's one less thing for you to be paying attention to.
I didn't even know you could do that, actually. So apart from turning your own camera, off, but
It's your top right corner
about technology today.
We just automatically look at ourselves if we're there. So if you just hide it, it really.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great tip.
All right, so we'll wrap up for tonight and see you in just a few weeks. On June 16th, we're going to be talking about the Waterloo, as I said at the top, the Waterloo Regional Health Innovation Map. And there will be some great stories. There's some amazing things being done by companies here, and large international companies and smaller companies that are getting to work on things that have a global impact, as well as, creating jobs and helping our local economy. So please make sure you sign up for that and get as many people as possible to join us. We will have a recording available for this session. So thank you so very much for joining, and have a great week. Do those exercises.
Thank you, June. Thanks, Catherine.
Thanks so much, everybody. Appreciate the invite. Bye.
Bye. Nice to meet you all. Bye.